That's a very good question because, well, okay, if the United States is playing currently a role of a kind of global policeman, then okay, if not the United States, who will be willing to do that? Will Russia be willing? I'm not so sure, because it really demands a lot of resources. First of all, economic resources. And you have to be really responsible for a lot of things which are going on all around the globe. And China is also not so willing because it perceives itself more as a developing country which still has some domestic problems to be settled. The same is true for Russia. So I would say that both Russia and China are very much interested into multilateral structures because they allow to share responsibility for all global problems and challenges. So we have to do it together at the multilateral level, in multilateral formats, and that's what Russia would do. So I don't think that Russia really believes that it has enough resources to do it on its own. Not quite, because of course there are such platforms for cooperation as BRICS or Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but they do not view themselves as a kind of anti-NATO or anti-US organizations or platforms. So basically they were created for the domestic development of member states, especially BRICS. So those countries share the same problems or they have the same expectations regarding the world order. So of course, Russia and China view both BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization more as global governance institutions, but not in the sense that they really oppose the West, but in the sense that Russia and China are the countries which have different needs, different from the Western needs, and that's why they know better what could be the better solutions for their countries, for their regions. The problem is not framed like a crisis of liberal democracy. In Russia, it's more perceived as a crisis of nation building, probably, that European countries, well, they somehow until recently pretended that they know how to unify nations, and they even currently build some supranational identities like European identity, and suddenly it turns out that they have some problems at home. And Russia also does have some problems at home with some right-wing movements. We will have problems with separatism, and there are some right-wing groups which used to be rather popular in Russia, and that's really a problem for all of us. So that's why I don't think that Russia really has a clear solution for that. The official vision is that, okay, in Russia, different ethnic groups, different regions have been living together for centuries, so we know how to do that. That could be our Russian model, but I'm not sure that this model is working perfectly, because we still need some political values which would unite all the regions of Russia, all the people in Russia, and our political elites are still in search of such kind of an ideology which would unite the Russian population. So there is kind of an official vision of that presented by Vladimir Putin, that in Europe that's a crisis of multiculturalism, because European nations kind of abandon their traditions, their traditional values, and they are trying to incorporate the values of some groups of populations which kind of join their nations later, migrants or refugees. And in this sense, this process can be very painful, the process of dealing with some different values. So what to do with them, be as tolerant as possible, or try to keep your previous identity and defend it, and not that anyone has a clear answer to that, because those groups which have different identity very often feel that they need to defend their identity, and they do it in a more kind of vivid manner than the rest of the population, and that's why we currently witness this rise of right-wing nationalism and populism, because the nation feels that, okay, we have to protect our sense of identity, we have to protect what we are, and I don't know whether we have any solution. So probably that's a cycle that we need to go through, and later on we will find a way how to make both sides coexist more peacefully. I mean, like those who are more radical, those who are less radical in relation to national identity. But unfortunately now we're living through this cycle of the rise of nationalism.